It is always great to have you on the show. You're a mom, an actress, an activist, and now you're an author. You have really just done a little bit of everything, and kudos to you for doing such an amazing job, but also using your platform for so many great things. And you have this new book that you wrote with your sister, for your sister. Why was it so important for you to write this book?
Uh, well, thank you for having me. First of all, love talking to you. My sister and I decided to write this book. I went to her with the idea of writing this book after the Caitlyn Jenner Vanity Fair cover. Although I was so happy, right, for that moment that Caitlyn was having in the celebration, the next day I felt a little bit weird. And I think it was because of the narrative of the interview, of what that cover symbolized. And if you weren't part of that, right, if you didn't have the money, if you didn't have the glamour, if you couldn't afford the right hormones or the right surgeries, should you choose to have them, then what does that say about you? Where do you fit? And so having a trans sister, being Afro-Latina, all those things meant there needed to be a platform for this story, because I know that this story was going to resonate with a lot of people.
But Selenis, as Latinas, we know culturally this is something extremely difficult to talk about. And for maybe not our generation, but our parents' generation, my grandmother, to kind of wrap her and their brain around this. And I'm not saying it's for all of them, let me just state, but I do think that generally it's a little bit difficult.
No, it is. It's very difficult. But like you said, for our parents' generation, for example, here is a story about how my parents, my Cuban father, my Dominican mother, were able to open themselves up to educating themselves and to accepting their daughter, their transgender daughter, and saying, you know what? In the beginning, it was tough. We didn't really understand it. I didn't have all the tools. You have to understand that transgender, although it's been around, this is not something new. As far as the media, as far as mainstream, we haven't really been talking about it the way we have in the past decade, because of the representation that now exists. So my parents were able to educate themselves, to hear things out, and to open themselves up. I think it's possible for us to reach a lot of other people that perhaps maybe weren't ready for it.
Do you think that it will happen though? I mean, I want to be optimistic about it, but I just feel like it's such a, you know?
We're living in such a weird time where we're all asking everyone, the world, to change and to adjust to different, because what we have been conditioned to believe is quote unquote the norm, we are seeing is not. I have every day epiphanies of like, oh my God, how could I have been such a sheep in following what was taught to me? Instead of realizing, instead of asking the questions, instead of educating myself, going further. We're lazy. We're a lazy culture in general. So what I'm inviting our people to do, especially Latinos, is to open up yourself to the possibility of hearing other people's stories. You know what I mean? You'd be surprised how you can perhaps think like, oh, wow, I never thought of it this way. I think that we as humans need to open ourselves up a lot more. It's time, it's 2020. We're seeing it on a daily basis. Every time we turn on the television, people are demanding change because what has been the norm has not worked.
Correct.
So what I'm inviting people to do, especially my Latino culture, is to pick up the book, My Sister, Mi Hermana in Spanish also, and just hear our story. Hear our story. Put yourself in my sister's shoes, in Marisol's shoes, so that perhaps you can have empathy and sympathy for her journey and maybe open yourself up a little bit more.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it difficult for you at one point and for Marisol to say, maybe I don't want to put myself out there and be this example?
I think that for Marisol, when I came up with this idea, I went to her and she said, let me think about it. And it took her a couple of days. And I completely respect that. This book would not have been written if Marisol wasn't completely 100% on board, because it is her journey that we're sharing. and we are just kind of like the co-stars in it, you know, but it's her. She's the lead actress in this moment, and it's her story, it's her struggles, it's a lot of things that she kept to herself, a lot of secrets that are part of the transgender community, a lot of things that they have to do in order to survive that they're not necessarily proud of. So there were a lot of things that I think that she needed to expose, and I'm just really happy that she decided to trust me and to trust the vision that what we were doing here was educating people.
I'm happy that you decided to write this book. I think it's something that, yes, our people need to read, our people need to learn, to educate, and to listen, more importantly, and to accept, right? Even if sometimes it can be a little bit difficult. But with everything, there's negative. Are you and Marizol ready to face on the trolls, like we call it now in 2020? Are we ready? Are you ready to face that? Because it's going to happen.
Oh, it's happened already, but I honestly thought it was going to be a lot worse. I think that for every one troll, we have thousands of people that are saying thank you. Thousands of people all over the world that are saying, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you, Selenis, for being an ally. Thank you, Marisol, for your bravery. So for every one troll that we may get, like every once in a blue moon, because it's not even daily, I have to tell you, there's a lot more love and a lot more acceptance and a lot more people that are saying, wow, so if that's possible for you guys, it's possible for me. Because a lot of times also what was important about writing this book with both of us is to show that if you're part of the LGBTQ plus community, if you're part of the transgender community, you don't have to be alone. Usually the stories are always about how they are left alone, how their families turn their backs on them. This is a story about how we as her family bonded together and decided we're not going to leave her alone. We're going to give her the support and love so that she can thrive, so that she can be someone who, just like us, has a life and feels confident. And even so, with all the love that we gave her, you know, it's hard to walk into the world that says, you don't belong, we don't want you.
Everyone is demanding change. With that, you and Marisol are asking for that as well. If there's one thing that you want to change out of writing this book, what is it?
What we want to do is change the way people's perception of a transgender person is. You know, the idea that trans people are, they have control over what they feel. I think that's the main issue. Transgender people, people that are part of the LGBTQ community, do not wake up one day and decide to be this person. They are this person from the day they are born. And I witnessed it in my sister, because at the age of 3 years old, I saw an essence in her, the way she carried herself, the way she moved, the way she spoke, that was not a little boy. It was very clear to me from day one. So what I want to say to people is, you know, I believe in God, I believe in spirituality. We're all here. No one is here by accident. You know, we all have a purpose. And I think that I am inviting everyone to read our book, learn a little bit more about what it is to be a transgender human, and open up yourselves to other stories in life in general.
Beautiful. You always work on fantastic things. Now that I have you, I have to ask, what are you working on next? When do we get to see you back on the screen?
Well, hopefully quarantine life will not get in the way too much of it, as it has. But we did get, Disney Plus just ordered a second season of Diary of a Future President. So we're really excited about that. And hopefully we'll get to start shooting at the end of the summer, early fall, depending on how, you know, the world reacts to this pandemic. But we're really looking forward to that. I would love to continue to promote my book, Mi Hermana, my sister, and just continue to write stories. I think I'm writing more now. I have a script or two that's out there kind of circling, and directing and producing. I think that's the next thing. I think that if we want to see ourselves, we have to start, you know, making that change.
Hey, you know what you are to me? Future goals. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. We wish you the best and happy quarantine life.
Cheers to that.